This is actually our last video, Facebook Live on the series. We started back in November 2019. It was in response to people asking us questions regarding depression, anxiety, PTSD. Do you have a T for depression? Do you have a T for anxiety? And it's really heartbreaking to get that question, because T just does not work that way. And so we are putting together these videos. This is the last one, and we're going to be talking about just some practical life worth living goals, life goals that you can, life habits that you can start to implement, and hopefully not only will they help you navigate emotions, but be able to help you to connect with others who struggle, because if we are not emotionally well balanced, it will just throw off not only our mental health, but our physical, spiritual, social, environmental. So let's get started. By the way, if you have any questions, give a comment below. I have my Facebook Live video right here, and we are good. Hi Rose. So when we were doing videos, when we were looking for YouTube videos on emotional health, we noticed there was quite a bit of information on mental health. When it came comparatively to emotional health, it's not so much. And they did provide good content saying, hey, these are some healthy habits. You can do yoga, you could do therapy. I'm a big fan of yoga. I'm a big fan of therapy, even more so therapy. There's different types of therapy. One of the therapies we talked about was cognitive behavioral therapy, that's CBT. And there's also dialectic behavioral therapy, talks about emotions. And these types of therapies, I want to have the disclaimer, any type of therapy, it has to be customized for you or the person who is going through emotional regulations, trying to grow in themselves. And mind you, it's also really dependent on the therapist. So those two little things I want to make clear. But regarding life habits to help you grow emotionally, one of them is eating. I know we've said it many times before in our videos, if you are not eating well, it will take a toll on your emotions. You ever seen a Snickers commercial where people are like, oh my gosh, you're really hungry, go eat a Snickers? I don't advise eating the Snickers, but there's some truth to that. If you are not eating well, it can take a toll on your emotions. There is actual neuroscience evidence, it's real science, that hunger is real. People who get hungry, they get angry because they don't have food in their stomach, or if they do have food, it's not very nutritional. It doesn't provide the right energy content. And so that's one, is eating. Number two is sleeping. If you're sleep deprived, you will be moody. If you over binge on your sleep, like sometimes you will be up for days and then you'll just crash and only be out for 18 hours. That also can have a negative effect on your emotions. Environment. We all experience stressful environments. If you're here in SoCal and you ever drive on the freeway, then you know that being in traffic on the 405 can be extremely aggravating and can affect your emotions. I cannot tell you how normal it is to be stuck in 4 hours of traffic and it negatively affect your emotions. So being in a calm environment, emotions, if you're trying to balance your emotions, check the thermostat, check and feel where your emotions are, or check where you're at physically, where your environment is, because it does take a toll on your emotions. Absence of noise. There are retreats, no sound, no one speaks. It can be very therapeutic for some. Others, it could be just traumatic. It's an opportunity for flashbacks to come. Your emotions kind of rush at you because there's no noise. You'll see people who are struggling from addiction, or they're trying to stay sane because they're emotionally going overboard. They're on a roller coaster, so they have to be in an environment where it's very noisy. Even though it may not be stress, they need the loud music, they need just chaos, because mentally and emotionally things are going on. So they have to be in an environment where the outside matches the inside. People, who they surround themselves with. There's a saying, are you going to be a negative Nancy? Are you going to be a downer? You know, Tommy Downer, I don't know the name, but who you're surrounding yourself with will play a role on your emotions. And not even just now, if you grew up in an environment where your parents were, it doesn't have to be your parents, the people you grew up with, you were raised where there was extreme amount of stress, excessive discipline, this fear, anxiety, it actually plays a part in your development as a human being. And there's definitive evidence that if you have been exposed to neglect, excessive neglect, if you were abused as a child, not just physical violence, sexual, verbal, even just the anxiety of being on edge, where, oh my gosh, the boogeyman can come and get you. That is a type of trauma, and that can actually have a physical effect on your brain. So if you grew up in that, understand that biologically you can be predisposed to struggling with depression and anxiety, and maybe you can block it out. There are some coping mechanisms. Some are healthy, some are not so healthy. Emotional regulation is one of the past videos we did. We talked about how to navigate our emotions, how some people go to eating, while other people, and this is true of me, I overwork. And these videos, it's actually been really difficult because I'm doing this content, I'm researching, and I'm like, wow, my brain has been over-exalted with cortisol, which is the stress hormone. And so I've had to practice meditation and mindfulness to be able to ground myself emotionally to do these videos. Why am I doing these videos? Again, it's because people ask us, say, Fernando, Zen's Tea House, we're looking for a tea for my son, my daughter, my husband, my child, my grandchildren. They are struggling emotionally. They suffer from anxiety. It's severe. Do you have a tea for that? And we didn't want to just say, well, here's some kava kava, here's some valerian root. That's not how tea works. That's not how depression and mental health works. Even our emotions can kind of take control, and we don't want to kind of push a product. No, what we want to do is promote education. We're doing these videos so that you can listen and see, oh wow, there's so many more options. And on that note, I want to talk about trauma. Trauma is real, and it may be different for everyone. You can be exposed to trauma as a child by experiencing pain. You can see it. There's war atrocities. It's very common amongst veterans that they have PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and how the transition to be able to start acclimating and into being normal, it's a journey. And I want to make sure that in all these videos that we put this two messages. Number one, there is no such thing as a bad emotion. Emotions are not good or bad. They are feelings. They help us to understand where we're going, what we're doing. They're actually survival skill. They can let you know what is happening and help you to make a decision. That's number one. Number two is that teas and herbs are great, but they're not the solution. Again, there's therapy, there's education, there's diet, there's exercise, environment, lifestyles. We have links below on our webpage at zenstea.com. We have a link. It's called, I believe it's Zen's Tea House, or zenstea.com/emotional health. You could just Google Zen's Tea House emotional health, and you'll be able to see our past 4 videos. We've done a lot actually of videos, but those are the videos we put on the webpage. We hope you enjoy the content. We hope you enjoy this video series. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. Please share it. And again, if you know anyone who's struggling with emotions, which by the way, we all struggle with emotions, use some of this content, practice it. There's some great evidence that supports that if you start changing how you eat, how you sleep, who you surround yourself with, start developing habits that build up your self-esteem and emotions, and even adjust your mindset, it can have a huge influence in your growth emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. All right, this is Fernando with Zen Tea House. We hope you like it, and I'll talk to you guys later. That being said, we have one more video that we're going to be posting on YouTube. It's actually going to be in the link below. All right, talk to you guys later. Happy Friday. Bye.